Well, this is a big anniversary for us because about a year ago, a few months before my 50th birthday, I had a major heart attack that almost killed me. And we've been through a lot since then. Um, and I would say that that experience really shifted our perspectives and made us think about everything differently, including how long we have, how many things we want to do. We think about our bucket list, and we used to think about our bucket list in terms of something that we had a lifetime to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, now we feel like nobody really knows how much time they have. So now we're thinking about that differently, and prioritizing things that we really want to do and trying to do as much as we can as quickly as we can. Um, we want to spend as much time with family as possible, and just see as much of this world as possible.
Yeah. For us, it's been a year for us to take this all in and to live with it and to see things with fresh eyes. So now it's a little easier to talk about, but I'm telling you that day when it happened, we did not see it coming. We had a regular day planned out, and it didn't turn out that way. So by sharing this story, we hope that maybe it could relate to other people who have been through shocking experiences like this and have come out on the other side with a new perspective. So it's not all sad. The purpose of us sharing this is to show you why it's so important to us to have the experiences that we're sharing with you through travel, the reasons behind it, and we'd actually love, in this community, if anyone has had a similar experience, just reach out and let us know in the comments. It was a normal Tuesday morning.
Yep.
Right? And so maybe you could share a little bit of what happened.
Yeah, honestly, I know we've all seen heart attacks happen in the movies where it's this big dramatic event where somebody clutches their chest and
Yeah.
suddenly they're falling on the ground and everybody knows they're having a heart attack. But I want to explain what happened to me so that other people might recognize signs early. So I actually went to the gym the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually have a healthy lifestyle. I eat well, I exercise a lot, I go to the gym. But I went to the gym the night before, had a good workout, I felt fine, came home, everything felt normal, and I went to bed that night. And in bed, I just had some achiness, some upper body achiness that was making me feel really uncomfortable, and I had a hard time sleeping all night.
Which actually, TMI, but it's not uncommon for him to toss and turn. You're not
No,
a sound sleeper.
I'm not a great sleeper.
Right?
No.
I'm the one that sleeps well.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah. So
And I didn't wake you up. I didn't.
No.
I didn't
but you
think it was.
should've.
I didn't think it was anything serious. Honestly, I thought I was just sore from the gym,
Mm-hmm.
because that's kind of what it felt like. Except, I guess the difference was that I felt it everywhere. So my back, my chest, my shoulders, my arms, pretty much my whole upper body was just really achy. So it kind of felt like muscle soreness, but it wasn't localized to any certain places.
And you
So
had
I
no
guess-
problems breathing either.
No problems. No problems breathing. People talk about shortness of breath and things like that, heaviness on the chest. I didn't have any of that.
Mm-mm.
So it was really subtle, actually. And then when I got up in the morning, Cassandra had gotten up before me. She was having her normal, relaxing morning routine.
I was.
Sipping coffee in her recliner. I walked slowly down the stairs, and I noticed as I was walking down the stairs toward the living room, the pain was actually getting worse. That was unusual because I was walking pretty slowly, so I shouldn't have been getting sore because of that. But then I sat down and I felt better. I told Cassandra that I had a difficult night and that I was feeling some pain, but we weren't too concerned at that time.
Mm-mm.
I sat down and it felt better. So I was still thinking maybe it was just muscle soreness and I just needed to rest and wait it out. Then a little while later, I was eating breakfast. I was just sitting at the table, eating my bowl of Cheerios, and I noticed as I was sitting there eating, the pain was getting worse, and it still wasn't terrible pain. It was definitely bearable. It was still achiness, but it was definitely getting worse. And so that's when I put down my spoon. I didn't even finish my Cheerios, and I told Cassandra that I wanted to go to the doctor.
Yeah, which is not usual for him. He is he's a normally really quiet person. So all of this is going on. He's not really saying much, and it's kind of normal for him. But for him to say, I think I need to go to the doctor, that's all I needed to hear. But I tell you what, I think we took a couple minutes to debate what to do. Because we really thought maybe it was, oh, this is just going to be muscle aches from the gym.
Yeah.
And our initial thought was actually not to call 911, but we would tell anybody, no, if there's anything that's strange in the chest area, just call 911, because when they get to you, they can work on you right away.
In the ambulance.
On the way to the hospital. But what happened with us, we talked about, oh, maybe we should call the doctor. We're established with a GP now, we can get in the same day. And he said no. And I said, well, do we go to urgent care? And I think what really helped was with your medical background as well and what we just know if there's anything related in the chest, even if we went to urgent care, they would have said, no, you go to the ER. So we didn't get in the car right away. We weren't dressed. We had just gotten up. I think it probably took another 10 minutes or so. We decided, okay, we're going to go to the hospital.
We didn't rush. It didn't feel urgent. It really didn't.
Yes, but now that we know what we know today.
Sure, yeah.
Of course, it's critical to save as much time as possible, right? Because the damages can be irreversible.
So I'm not a medical doctor. I have some medical knowledge because I've been a teacher for a long time. But when a heart attack happens, small arteries, one or more of the small arteries around the heart is blocked, and that prevents blood and oxygen from getting to the heart. And so the timing is extremely important, because the longer that blockage is there, the longer the time that the heart tissue is starved of oxygen and the tissue starts dying. And that is permanent. That tissue never comes back. So if you ever suspect a heart attack, you need to get to the hospital as quickly as possible. And
we did.
We did that. We got there quickly. Once we realized that it was really something very unusual that was going on, we got to the hospital quickly.
Yeah.
And the emergency room that we went to, it was a brand new emergency room that was about 3 minutes down the road from our house. So it didn't take us long to get there, which was good because that was the key to me surviving. And most of my heart tissue is still healthy because I got to the hospital so quickly.
There were a lot of things that went right that day for us to be sitting here together today.
Yeah.
Because it was a new satellite ER that had recently opened. It's not even the hospital that we were established in, but we know the first medical facility we got to, we were going to go. It's just a couple minutes from our house, and it wasn't as busy as the other hospital would have been, which was farther away. So that's one thing that went really right. When I got him we got dressed. We didn't even tell our boys. It was in the summer, so they were still asleep at home. But this was about
They're
8:30.
they're adults now. Yeah, they're young adults, so
Yeah,
it was okay to leave them at home.
they're adults, but there's yeah, and so we got dressed, got in the car, got to the hospital with one red light. I'm like, oh, let's. But we got through, and I'm driving up to the emergency room. Normally you would just say, go in right in front and let's help the patient up. No, he was a little stubborn. And I still tell him about this, but
Well, when I was sitting in the car, I was actually feeling better. So
okay,
it honestly didn't feel that urgent.
that's good. But I'm like, you need to get. He's like, no, go park. All right, parked, which was not that far. It parked, and then he got out of the car and he started walking towards the main doors, and he was not feeling good.
No, I regretted that decision. I did.
And so we walk in. There's no one else in the ER. Again, this is about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning at this point. And I mentioned to the person at the front desk, my husband is having chest pain. He was sitting in the waiting area, and she said, okay, let me get back to get a doctor. It was an excruciatingly long, probably just 3 minutes wait. It felt long because I was looking over at him and trying to check him in the little kiosk thing while they were getting someone, but he started looking really bad at that point. So we really think it was really escalating there in that room. She finally came out with the doctor, and we walked in. It's not like they were like, oh, here's a wheelchair. No, we walked in and again had to stand and do some check-in, but it was getting apparent that he is not feeling good.
Yeah, they were asking me questions when I was standing at the desk.
They were trying to find your record in the system, and
Yeah.
they're like, no, he doesn't have a record here, but
then I said,
anyway,
can I sit down?
Yeah.
And at that point, I think everybody realized that it was pretty serious. And at that point, they rushed me back to a room, got me in a bed.
Yep.
Hooked me up to an EKG, and they could determine right away that I was having a heart attack. And we couldn't believe that we were hearing those words when the doctor said, the EKG is indicating that there's a blockage.
I could not believe it. I mean, I felt the blood rush from my head down to my toes. And I was internally thinking, did you just say what I think you said? And they were the calmest people. I have the utmost respect for medical professionals. Before I did, but definitely now when I saw these people so calm and in action, and the doctor was just calmly telling me, okay, here's the plan. This is what's going to happen. Because this was a satellite ER. It wasn't the main hospital. He said, we already have a team at the main hospital that's waiting on him. We're going to give him something to ease his pain and take him in the ambulance to the main hospital. All the while, I'm still trying to, I wish I had help with this, but I was trying to listen. And after the doctor left, I still had to do all the check-in things, but that's an aside. But I managed to check him all in. And by the time I was done, I was able to stay with him in the room the whole time. And there were 3 or 4 people just monitoring him. And they finally wheeled him out to take him in the ambulance. And he was looking okay. It's unbelievable. I just want people to know that this can look like something that isn't that serious. If we hadn't gotten there then, I think it would have become more obvious in probably another 10 minutes. It could have been too late, but I'm so grateful that she said something and that this hospital was 3 minutes away, because like losing him that day was not it's not on my agenda, and I'm at 48 years old.
Yeah.
But they were wonderful.
So in that satellite ER, as soon as they determined that it was a heart attack, they gave me medications to improve blood flow to my heart. They gave me pain medication, and they continued treating me once they got me into the ambulance and took me to the hospital. And it was a short ride in the ambulance.
Yeah, so
But those are the things that they would have done in the
Yes.
ambulance if we had called an ambulance.
That is true.
I mean, sometimes it can take several minutes for an ambulance to arrive, so there's no way to know if things would have happened quicker. But I think we made good decisions. We made the right decisions, and we got there quickly.
We did, and you were okay. So I followed behind the ambulance, found where to park, ran in, and the receptionist was there, and she opened like the door for me to go back. She said a nurse took me back really to the room that they were prepping him. They were so fast.
Yeah, they were.
I walked back there. So it's this long hallway, and I walked back with the nurse. I didn't know what I was going to see. But he was in the middle of this prep room on the hospital bed. And I tell you, there must have been about 20 doctors and nurses around him.
They all introduced themselves to me, and I felt like I had a good team ready to operate on me.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So calm. Everybody knew what they needed to do. Yep. And I thought, well, I said, just let me kiss him goodbye. I didn't know what was happening for sure and what they were going to do. So I remember I said, I pray for you. You're going to be okay. I'm going to, message my parents and the kids later, and, we're here with you. And that was it. I gave him a kiss, and I left with the nurse, and she was taking me to the 5th floor waiting room for cardiology. It honestly it happened so fast. We had no time to fear something that was going to happen. We were just like, bam, like right in the moment. It was just time to act. And it was a peace that I've never been able to really put into words. Even though I knew how daunting the situation was, it was still like utter surrender of like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I just trust that he was in good hands and he'd be okay. And it was like maybe almost 2 hours, an hour and a half.
Oh, I have no idea. It was pretty quick for me. I would
say
I was asleep.
I think it was less than 2 hours.
Yeah. All of that was much more difficult for you. I just laid there. Man. I was sleeping.
Yeah.
And then I woke up, and you came into the recovery room.
Yeah, the nurse took me up there, and again, I didn't know what to expect. But at that point, our sons had came and to be with me, and the three of us went up to the ICU. Again, I didn't know if he would be hooked up to a bunch of things. I didn't know if he would have had open heart surgery, because unfortunately we were a little experienced with this. His mom had open heart surgery several years ago, so we knew there was a history of this in the family. But I'm telling you, it could not have gone more smoothly. When I walked into that room, he was smiling at me and giving me a thumbs up.
Yeah, we'll show you a picture.
Yeah. And
I was feeling good at that point. There was no more pain.
No.
The pain was completely gone, and of course I was still recovering from the medication a bit. I was still waking up, but I felt good.
Yeah, he looked completely normal. And fortunately, what it ended up being, he had one blockage, 100% blocked.
In one of my coronary arteries.
And fortunately, nowadays, they're able to put a stent in through your wrist. It's absolutely amazing. So
a very tiny scar on my wrist. You can barely see it.
That was it.
Yep.
That saved his life. And Yeah, so he ended up being in the ICU for the night, so for about 24 hours for monitoring, and then in a regular room for one more day.
Yep.
So it's just 2 nights in the hospital. He was doing okay.
But at the end of it, because we made it to the hospital quickly, so I basically learned a couple of things. One is that when I was talking to the cardiologist, one is that it really was a potentially lethal situation. He told me that a lot of people don't survive things like this, which was pretty sobering. And then the other thing was that because we made it to the hospital quickly and they got me into surgery quickly, they were actually able to save most of my heart tissue. And I actually still have almost a fully functioning heart, and I should be, as long as nothing else happens, I should be healthy for the rest of my life. So that's the key, is to get there as quickly as possible. Um, so I would just say that if you ever feel like anything serious is off, especially in the upper body, it doesn't necessarily even have to be the chest. It could be the arms, the neck, the back. Just get checked out. Get to a hospital, get to an emergency room, call an ambulance, because timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So get there as quickly as possible. And like I said, we're not doctors. We're not giving medical advice. Just advice about life experience. So that was important. And I also had a couple of other questions for my cardiologist. We actually had a couple of big trips planned, just
Back to back.
yeah, a week and a half after that, 10 days after that, and then a few weeks after that. So we had a trip planned to the Cayman Islands to visit her family 10 days after the heart attack. And then a few weeks after that, we had a trip planned to go to the Netherlands, or I had a trip planned to go to the Netherlands with my son to visit our daughter, who lives in the Netherlands.
And at this point, I am looking at him as if he was a fragile piece of lace, not knowing like what can we do. I didn't want to immediately think that way, but I needed to hear it from the cardiologist to understand. Can we make these trips? Should we make these trips?
And we still didn't know.
No.
Even after we talked to the cardiologist, but he was very confident. He said, "Yes, we got to you quickly enough. Your heart is healthy enough to handle anything. You can go on these trips." And he actually encouraged me to do so.
Yeah, and we had a follow up with him the day before we left,
Yes.
because he had called the airlines. We were fully prepared, knew what to do to cancel them or postpone them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the trip to Cayman actually was a good one to go on. It was just going to be a lot of rest and just seeing my parents.
Yep.
And I know we know people. We've lived there before. We know where the facilities are, what to do in an emergency.
Yeah, they have good hospitals.
Yeah.
And everything's nearby.
But it was still a brave thing. We had to be courageous to still do that.
Yeah.
And it was important for you because we didn't want to shrink and go against what the doctor was saying. The cardiologist said, go and live your life.
Yeah.
What are you waiting on?
And
right?
Yeah, and I knew that people are very susceptible to depression after something like this because it changes your life so much, because you feel like maybe you can't do all the same things. You need to be really careful. You need to change your diet. You're on medications, and you need to be so careful. So I felt like the doctor was telling me I could go on these trips, and I felt like if I didn't go, then I could really sink into depression. So I felt like I needed to go. And so I did. And
this was to see our daughter. It's not as
well,
if
your
this,
parents
my
first,
parents.
and then our daughter.
So
right.
This is critical to, our well-being, to be able to see her once a year.
Yeah, if I wasn't able to visit family, that would have really hurt.
Yeah.
And of course, I wanted to see as much family as possible after all this happened.
Yeah.
So those were really important trips, and
so let's talk about how we prepared for those, though, in terms of what we mentally prepared for, and
yeah, we definitely felt like we needed to.
We still do, and for trips now.
research more. Yeah, know where the hospitals are. Know what numbers we have to call if there's an emergency. Know what costs of healthcare are like in whatever country we're going to, and if we think we need to buy a supplemental health insurance plan, travel insurance. So we research all those things now anytime we travel, and we really did before those trips.
Yeah. It was still hard to go, but I'm so glad we did.
Yeah. Oh, it was important.
So, and the flip side of this, of course, is now we hesitate less. We if we know we want to do something, not even travel related only, we realize that not thinking about it in a negative way, but an awareness now of like, what am I waiting on? If I'm a little scared to do something in our business, for example, or if I'm a little scared to do whatever it could be, go to a new place. It's empowered us really to just calm down, research what we need to know, and that extra bit of preparation has actually made our trips and the way we view things better.
And these trips were amazing. I was so happy I went on these trips. I got to see family, of course. That was the most important part. But I actually, we recorded our first videos that would go on our YouTube channel. So because of all this,
that drove us to do this.
We actually started our YouTube channel. We recorded videos in the Cayman Islands at the Botanic Park there, one of our favorite places to go. When I went to the Netherlands, I was biking around, riding between cities, really embracing the active lifestyle. This was 3 weeks.
And this is what the cardiologist
3 to 4 weeks after my heart attack.
I'll never forget. He gave us the advice of...
He said I could do anything.
We all have to exercise. We should be exercising, right? Yeah. And it's hard. It's easy to not do it. But he said, if you think of it like a stool, 3 legs of a stool, make sure you do something for flexibility, something for cardio, and something for strength. And he definitely does that. And I a week later, I joined a local gym as well, and that just propelled us to work on ourselves. It helped me realize that, wow, I should not take health for granted, because you don't know. You really don't know, right? And just do our very best to stay healthy. Well, let's talk about what he has been able to do since this happened a year ago. You've been to the Netherlands 3 times.
Yep.
To see our daughter.
The Cayman Islands twice. Yep.
And we just recently came back from Scotland, which was a brand new place for us.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So,
all since I had the heart attack.
Yeah. Again, by advice, getting advice from his doctors, knowing what he can do now. But there's no reason for us to create any sort of unnecessary fear over doing the things that, cardiologist told us, live your life. You got to live your life now, right? What are you waiting on? And we've listened to him.
Yeah. So I guess to sum all of this up, life really is short, and we don't know how much time we have. We used to, like I said, we used to think about the bucket list as the things that we would eventually get to and eventually do in our lives. But now we've completely changed that perspective, and we want to be out there doing things every day, getting those experiences, because we don't know how much time we have to accomplish those things on the bucket list. And I have to say that our bucket list keeps getting longer rather than shorter, because every time we do something fun, we come up with more ideas of things that we want to do.
Yep.
But that's good. That's a good thing. So get out there, enjoy life. We are going to keep traveling and sharing our experiences with you. And we want to encourage you to, if you've ever been through anything like this, you don't have to share a serious health related matter, but anything at all, feel free to drop a comment. We'd love to connect with you. Or if you just want to share why you love travel. We've talked about why, some of the reasons why we love to travel, and we're going to be talking about it more in future episodes. This is a big reason why.